Ever heard of a 100-million-year-old time capsule?
Intriguing.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. A story of ancient wasps, mistaken identities, and a whole lot of evolutionary intrigue.
Seems fascinating. Where do we even begin to unpack all of that?
It all starts with a tiny creature encased in amber, Discuscaepa apicula. And let me tell you, this little wasp had scientists buzzing literally about the evolution of bees.
Oh, wow. Bees. Everyone loves bees. So we're talking about some ancient bee ancestor then.
That's what everyone thought at first. We're talking the Cretaceous period, a time when dinosaurs still roamed the earth. Picture lush forests in what is now Myanmar. And this tiny wasp going about its business, totally unaware it was about to become a scientific celebrity.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Set the scene for me. What happened next?
Fast forward millions of years, and this perfectly preserved fossil is discovered. Scientists were ecstatic. They thought they'd stumbled upon one of the oldest bees ever discovered.
I can only imagine the excitement. A bee that old would have totally rewritten the evolutionary timeline for bees. But wait, you said mistaken identity. This isn't actually a bee.
You got it. There's a twist. Turns out Discuscaepa apicula, despite some initial appearances, is actually a wasp.
A wasp. Wow, what a turn of events. So what kind of wasp are we talking about here?
Specifically, a crabronid wasp. It belongs to a group called Crabroninae.
Crabroninae, okay. I'm not super familiar with all the wasp families. What can you tell me about them?
Think of it like a family tree. Crabroninae is a large subfamily of wasps, known for their diverse lifestyles and hunting strategies. It gets even more specific. Discuscaepa apicula actually belongs to a smaller tribe within that subfamily called Discuscaepini.
Discuscaepini. So this little wasp helps us understand how all these different wasp groups are related, right? Their evolutionary history and all that.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Even though it's a wasp, Discuscaepa apicula still holds some clues about bee evolution.
That's interesting. I'm curious, how can a wasp help us understand bees?
You see, it exhibits certain bee-like traits, particularly when it comes to pollen collection.
Pollen collection. Isn't that a bee thing? Why would a wasp be interested in pollen?
That's where things get really interesting, because it highlights this concept called convergent evolution.
Convergent evolution. I vaguely remember that term from biology class. Can you remind me what that is again?
Absolutely. It basically means that sometimes completely unrelated species can evolve similar traits because they're adapting to similar environments or lifestyles. Think of sharks and dolphins. One's a fish, the other's a mammal. But they both have those streamlined bodies and fins because they live in the ocean and need to swim efficiently.
Right. So even though Discuscaepa apicula is a wasp, it might have acted like a bee because it was doing similar things in a similar environment.
Exactly. And there's actually evidence for this bee-like behavior, literally stuck to our little wasp friend.
Evidence. Intriguing. What kind of evidence are we talking about?
Remember how we talked about all the excitement surrounding the initial discovery? Well, one of the reasons scientists thought it was a bee was because they observed pollen on its legs.
So this wasp is actually carrying pollen, but aren't wasps carnivores? What would it be doing with pollen?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's one of the reasons Discuscaepa apicula is so fascinating. It suggests that even 100 million years ago, some wasps were developing a taste for pollen.
A taste for pollen? So maybe they were using it as an extra food source? Or could this have been an early step towards them actually becoming specialized pollinators like bees?
That's a great question. It's not quite a simple straight line from this wasp to bees. Discuscaepa apicula isn't a direct ancestor of bees, but it does offer a valuable piece of the puzzle when it comes to understanding how wasps and bees diverged, and how some wasp lineages might have started down the path towards becoming the pollinating powerhouses we know as bees.
So it's like a snapshot of evolution in action, showing us these ancient wasps experimenting with different lifestyles and maybe setting the stage for the incredible diversity of bees we see today.
Exactly. And there's another detail about this pollen that makes Discuscaepa apicula stand out.
Okay, now I'm really curious. What's so special about this pollen?
It's not just ANY pollen. It came from a very specific source.
Oh, do tell. I'm all ears.
The pollen grains found on Discuscaepa apicula are incredibly well preserved, and analysis revealed they belong to an extinct flowering plant called Disperflora roberti.
Wow, that's amazing. They can actually identify the specific plant the pollen came from after 100 million years. It's incredible.
It is, and it opens up a whole new window into the ancient world of pollination. So we've got a wasp acting like a bee, carrying pollen from an extinct flower. It really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does. What was going on in that ancient ecosystem?
Well, it's possible that Discuscaepa apicula might have actually played a role in pollinating Disperflora roberti. It's a fascinating glimpse into a plant-pollinator relationship that existed in the time of the dinosaurs.
Wow, that's incredible. A plant-pollinator relationship from the time of dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I know, right? This little wasp is more than just a case of mistaken identity. It's like a window into a lost world, a key to understanding the evolution of both wasps and bees. And it might even hold secrets about these ancient pollination networks.
You're right. It's amazing how much information we can get from just one tiny fossil. What else is there to uncover about this little wasp?
There's definitely more. Remember those 21 beetle larvae found alongside Discuscaepa apicula in the amber?
Oh, yeah, those little hitchhikers.
Yeah.
They had another layer of complexity to this already compelling story. I can't wait to hear more. Those beetle larvae. They really are a fascinating twist to this whole story.
I know, right? They really caught my attention too. So fill me in. What's the deal with these larvae accidental roommates, or was there something more going on?
Well, to understand them, we kind of have to look at what we know about these types of beetle larvae today. You see, they're called triungulans, and in modern ecosystems, they're known for, well, they're kind of cunning.
Cunning. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, they latch onto bees to get a ride to the bee's nest.
So they use bees like a taxi service to get into their homes. Pretty clever, if a bit sneaky.
Exactly. Once inside the bee nest, the triungulans feast on the bee larvae and their provisions.
Oh, wow. So they're not just hitching a ride, they're moving in and eating everyone. That's a bit harsh.
It's a strategy that's evolved over millions of years, really highlighting the complex relationships that exist between different species in an ecosystem.
That makes sense with bees, but we're talking about a wasp, right?
Hmm?
Do we think these triungulans were trying to pull the same trick on Discuscaepa apicula? It wasn't a bee, but it was carrying pollen. Maybe the beetles were fooled.
That's a really good question, and it brings us back to convergent evolution. You see, it's possible that even though Discuscaepa apicula was a wasp, it was behaving enough like a bee, especially with the pollen collecting, that it might have attracted these opportunistic triangulans.
So a case of mistaken identity in the Cretaceous period. The beetles just saw a pollen-covered insect and thought, jackpot, dinner time.
Yeah, precisely. Of course, we can't be 100% certain, but it's a pretty plausible hypothesis, and it really emphasizes the interconnectedness of this ancient ecosystem.
It makes you think, what other relationships might be hidden in those amber time capsules, just waiting to be discovered?
Oh, absolutely. In this specific case, the triangulans and Discuscaepa apicula really gives us a glimpse into the long history of interactions between bees, wasps, and beetles.
So even though our wasp friend wasn't a bee, it's still helping us understand bee evolution and all the different relationships they have with other creatures.
Right, exactly. By studying these ancient interactions, we can get a better picture of how bees and their associates have co-evolved over millions of years. It's a fascinating field.
Speaking of those relationships, you mentioned that these types of interactions, like with the beetles, they still happen today, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's a group of beetles called Scotocryptini beetles that have they have a very fascinating relationship with stingless bees.
Stingless bees and Scotocryptini beetles. Okay, tell me more. This sounds intriguing.
Well, these Scotocryptini beetles are highly specialized to live inside the nests of these stingless bees. They have all sorts of adaptations to blend in and avoid detection by their bee hosts.
So they're like tiny little con artists getting into the bee nests and living off the hard work of others.
You could say that. They're what we call inquilines, means they live within the nests of other species but don't really offer anything in return. They've evolved to exploit the resources and protection offered by the bee colony.
Sneaky little beetles. But you have to admire their ingenuity, I guess.
Yeah. Indeed. And what's even more remarkable is that fossil evidence suggests that this type of bee-beetle interaction has been going on for at least 50 million years, all the way back to the Eocene epoch.
50 million years.
Yeah.
Wow. These beetles have been perfecting their bee nest infiltration skills for a very long time.
They really have, and it highlights how these complex ecological relationships have very, very deep evolutionary roots.
It makes you wonder, were they already up to their tricks back in the Cretaceous with our friend Discuscaepa apicula?
It's certainly possible, and it really highlights how these ecological relationships have such deep evolutionary roots.
So it seems every detail we uncover about Discuscaepa apicula, even though it wasn't a bee, keeps leading us to a deeper understanding of bee evolution and their whole web of life.
It's true. It just goes to show that even when a scientific discovery takes an unexpected turn, it can still lead to fascinating new insights.
Speaking of unexpected turns, I keep thinking back to all the excitement around the initial discovery of Discuscaepa apicula,
Yeah.
It was going to change everything we thought we knew about bee evolution, then bam, plot twist. It's a wasp. So what do we make of all this?
Well, I think the real takeaway is that science is a process, It's
Yeah.
about constant discovery and refinement. And sometimes the most intriguing discoveries come from those unexpected twists and turns along the way.
Like we're all detectives, piecing together clues from the past. But even when we think we've cracked the case, there's always another layer to uncover.
Exactly. And Discoscopa apicula, even though it's not a bee, has given us some really valuable pieces for that puzzle. It's shown us how convergent evolution can lead to similarities between different species. It's provided a glimpse into the long history of bee-beetle interactions. And it's a good reminder that every fossil discovery has the potential to rewrite what we thought we knew about the past.
And speaking of those discoveries, we haven't even talked about the pollen itself.
Ah, yes, the pollen. The pollen that ultimately led to Discoscopa apicula's, well, downfall as a bee. But it also opened up a whole new window into the ancient world of pollination.
So we've talked about Discuscaepa apicula carrying pollen, suggesting it was involved in pollination, even though it wasn't a bee. But what kind of pollen was it, and what can we learn from that?
Well, remember that extinct flowering plant we talked about earlier, Disperflora roberti, the one that was also found in Burmese amber?
Vaguely, yeah. Remind me what's so special about that plant.
Well, the pollen grains found on Discoscopa apicula are remarkably similar to those of Disperflora roberti.
So you're saying that our wasp friend might have been a pollinator of this extinct flower.
It's a strong possibility, and if that's the case, it gives us a very exciting glimpse into a pollinator-plant relationship that existed 100 million years ago.
100 million years, that's just mind-blowing. To think how long insects and flowering plants have been shaping each other.
It's really quite remarkable, and it highlights the incredible diversity and complexity of those ancient ecosystems, all those specialized relationships between plants and their pollinators.
Makes me wish we could go back and see it all firsthand. But even without a time machine, Discuscaepa apicula is giving us a pretty amazing peek into that lost world.
It really is, and it's a discovery that has implications for how we understand pollination and the way insects and flowering plants have co-evolved, By studying these ancient relationships, we can gain insights into those processes that have shaped the biodiversity we see today.
It's like Discuscaepa apicula is a key that's unlocked a secret door to the past.
And who knows what other secrets are still hidden in those amber time capsules just waiting to be discovered?
Okay, now I'm really wanting to go check out those amber mines. But before we set off on any prehistoric expeditions, let's take a breath and get ready for the final part of our exploration. We'll dig into what Discuscaepa apicula can teach us about, well, where bees actually come from, and why this discovery, even with all its twists and turns, is so important for understanding the big picture of bee evolution. We've journeyed through ancient ecosystems, uncovered these bee-beetle relationships, and explored the world of Discuscaepa apicula. Now, for the final part of our exploration, the big question. Where do bees come from?
The age-old question. It continues to fascinate scientists even today. And while Discuscaepa apicula might not be the bee ancestor we thought it was, it does give us some clues in our quest to figure out the evolutionary journey of these incredible pollinators.
So if this wasp that acted like a bee isn't the missing link, what is? How do we even begin to piece together that puzzle?
Well, scientists use all sorts of tools, fossil evidence, anatomical comparisons, genetic analysis, all to kind of reconstruct those evolutionary relationships. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle, Each discovery is a new piece to help us see that bigger picture.
And when it comes to bees, what does that picture look like? We've been discussing a 100-million-year-old wasp, but bees have been around longer than that, right?
Absolutely. Current research puts the origin of bees much earlier, maybe around 120 million years ago during the early Cretaceous. And the location, well, it might surprise you.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Where in the world did bees first appear?
Evidence points to a massive supercontinent called Gondwana.
Gondwana. Okay.
More specifically, Western Gondwana, which includes parts of what's now South America, Africa, and, get this, Antarctica.
Wait, Antarctica, the land of ice and penguins. Bees in that environment.
It seems counterintuitive, but remember, Gondwana back then was a completely different place. Much warmer climate, covered in lush forests, the perfect setting for those early ancestors of bees to thrive.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So bees started out on this ancient supercontinent, and then what? How did they spread across the globe and become the incredible diversity we see today?
Well, as Gondwana started to break apart, the continents drifted, carrying their bee populations with them. And this geographic isolation, along with different environments and pressures in each region, led to, well, diversification, different lineages of bees, ultimately giving rise to all the species we have today.
So bees went on this grand evolutionary adventure, hitching a ride on the continents.
Precisely. Each continent became its own evolutionary laboratory, if you will. Bees adapted to new climates, new plants, new niches, and that's what resulted in that remarkable array of shapes, sizes, and behaviors we see in bees today.
It's amazing to think about all those twists and turns that shaped bee evolution, over millions of years. But let's bring it back to Discuscaepa apicula. Why is this discovery, even though it wasn't a bee, so important for understanding bee evolution in general?
Well, even though Discuscaepa apicula itself wasn't a bee, it represents a really crucial branch on that evolutionary tree, the one that eventually led to bees. And by studying its anatomy, its behavior, we get these valuable insights into that transition from wasps to bees.
So it's a snapshot of evolution in action, showing us how those wasp lineages started developing traits that would eventually become, well, bee traits.
Exactly. Remember those pollen-collecting hairs on Discuscaepa apicula's legs? That's a key feature that sets bees apart from wasps. And the fact that it was found with pollen, well, it suggests it was already on that path towards that bee-like lifestyle, even if it didn't fully make it there.
So Discuscaepa apicula is like this evolutionary stepping stone, showing us how certain wasps started to specialize in pollen and ultimately paved the way for true bees to emerge.
Exactly. And by comparing Discuscaepa apicula to modern wasps and bees, we can get a clearer understanding of those evolutionary changes, the ones that led to the diversity of bees we see today.
It's just amazing how one fossil, even if it's a case of mistaken identity, can unlock so many secrets about the past and help us piece together this incredibly intricate story of life on Earth.
It really is. And Discuscaepa apicula, with all its twists and turns, reminds us that science is a journey of exploration. What we know today may change tomorrow as we gather new evidence.
It's about constantly pushing the boundaries of our understanding, embracing the unknown. And who knows what other wonders are out there, waiting to be discovered, maybe hidden in a piece of amber somewhere, ready to rewrite the textbooks and reshape how we see the world around us. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey into deep time. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never stop learning.